Look at this situation. Globo has just gotten itself into a huge mess. SBT, Patrícia, and the network's executives ended up creating a big problem, and that's coming up next year. On top of everything that's already happening, in 2026 we'll have the World Cup, and it's going to be held in the United States of America. One of the greatest names in Brazilian sports commentary has always been Galvão Bueno. And SBT pulled off two moves that completely shocked everyone. Galvão Bueno is going to commentate on the games for SBT. And the network also secured the rights to broadcast the World Cup. Just imagine that, Galvão and SBT broadcasting together. Today, the image quality is basically the same everywhere, on every network. It wasn't always like this, and that's why Globo sometimes had such an advantage. People got used to it because Globo's image quality was much better than Record, SBT, and the other networks. But now they're desperate, okay? Let me tell you this story. Mian, the same guy who betrayed the Patriots, who betrayed Brazilians, who betrayed President Bolsonaro, he was kicked off the network. But hey, hit that like button, all right? Join our family here and subscribe to the channel. I'll keep bringing you everything. SBT overtakes Globo, buys the World Cup broadcasting rights, and hires Galvão Bueno. Let's break this down, okay? The commentator, Galvão Bueno, agreed to leave band, where he hosted the show Galvão e Amigos, to sign with SBT. He's set to join the new network and cover the 2026 World Cup there next year. Say what you will, Galvão Bueno is one of the biggest names in Brazilian sports commentary, period. With him on the mic, the broadcast is just on another level. That's a fact, plain and simple. You may love or hate Galvão's quirks, but he is the name, in fact, the biggest name in Brazilian sports commentary. In his new home, Galvão will be working alongside his former Globo colleague, commentator, and host Thiago Leifert, who also, let's be honest, attracts a solid audience, especially among conservatives and right-wing Brazilians. And the SBT Sports lineup also includes Mauro Betting, let me tell you about him, Nadine Bastos, Renata Saporito, and former player Alexander Pato. The blog also reported that Band wasn't informed about the SBT deal. Galvão is expected to keep his show running until the World Cup begins. According to information published by Leo Diaz's portal, SBT has already settled all the details of the agreement, with only the formal paperwork left before officially sealing the deal against Globo. And then there's Cazé TV, the group responsible for broadcasting the competition in Brazil, along with SBT. And look, it's going to be interesting, because obviously we love the World Cup, right? Most of us, almost everybody out there. And not having to watch the World Cup on Globo, or even worse, on Cazé TV, on those two channels, which people honestly can't stand. Too fake. This is going to be wonderful, okay? According to the website, the contract will be signed with SBT in the next few days. SBT has acquired a package that includes all the Brazilian national team's matches, as well as all the decisive games of the tournament. Record tried to get the World Cup too, but their proposal was rejected. The official announcement is expected at any time to measure the impact of one of the world's biggest sporting events. Broadcasters are already expanding their lineup of professionals, which currently includes Thiago Leifert, a talented host. Now just imagine, for years we were used to seeing Galvão on Globo, and now he'll be on SBT. That's a big deal. And even more so at the World Cup, my friends, an event of global magnitude. And the most interesting part is that it's happening in the United States. There's a lot of speculation, all these sanctions going around, and we're keeping a very close eye on it. A huge turnaround could happen, even if Inácio keeps pushing this nonsense. He won't follow the letter set out by Trump. They're already talking about it behind the scenes. I've said it here several times. By the World Cup, Brazil could face sanctions. And not just the TV networks, but even the Brazilian Football Confederation and the national team itself. Although the way things are going, it's hard enough just to qualify. We've seen that lately, right? No matter what they say, everyone knows how much Neymar is missed. Vinicius Jr. isn't even close to playing the kind of soccer Neymar plays. But coming back here, you see how things are, right? That was a slap in the face for Globo, which of course must not have liked it one bit. One thing is to share the audience with Cazé here on social media, but another thing is sharing it with another TV network. Up until then, they weren't worried, but the moment Galvão Bueno goes to SBT, it's like this. People who love soccer but hate and despise Globo now get to watch it on SBT, without giving Globo any audience at all. Just think about that. Galvão Bueno's Casanova signed a deal to narrate matches right before the World Cup. It's part of an agreement with the channel and N Sports, which broadcasts sporting events, and Galvão even became a partner in it earlier this year. It was a massive blow from those corrupt people. People who have absolutely no love for Brazil, my friends, are only in it for their own interests. If the country is in this mess, it's because of those wicked people from that harmful network. A network that, of course, gives full support to Alexandre de Moraes, the Supreme Court minister, and to this misgovernment. Because one thing is obvious. It reminds me of the coverage of the Pandemic Inquiry Commission every single day on the evening news. There was absolutely nothing at all against President Bolsonaro, but they kept hammering it non-stop. The whole year of 2021. This was essentially a gift from Barroso to Lula, who had just become eligible again due to Edson Fachin's single-handed decision. And right after that, they launched the so-called Bolsonaro Genocide Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry, dragging it out for the entire year. It wasn't about facts. It was to attack President Bolsonaro. Now, with this new commission, based on concrete evidence, Lula is drowning in trouble. And now, under this new administration, from 2023 onwards, unions tied to his family, like his brother for example, say nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's infuriating to see how toxic and harmful these people are. When it was Bolsonaro, he was called a merchant of death and a genocidal maniac. Now they've stolen from retirees, stolen from elderly men and women who can't even defend themselves. And they don't say a single word about it, nor do they even call them suspects under investigation, right? All those narratives, all that silence to cover up the barbarity this misgovernment inflicted on retirees. It's surreal what we're witnessing. And here's another one who betrayed President Bolsonaro. This guy even had a law passed in his son's name. That demonstrates the importance he held for President Bolsonaro and Michelle. And yet, he betrayed Bolsonaro in every possible way. This can't hold up. He's terrified of being cancelled. So he posts something here, deletes it there, always afraid of the backlash. Man, for these people, just being on Globo is enough. They'll even sell their soul, right? That's what we notice. That's one of the big issues. One of the topics on Leo Diaz's gossip show was the firing of host Marcos Mion from Globo Television. Mion, who worked at networks like Band, has hosted Caldeirão since 2021. That was when Luciano Huck took over the Sunday shows, replacing Domingão do Faustão. Before joining Globo, Mion was at Record. In 2021, he had just wrapped up hosting A Fazenda's 2020 season, one of its most successful. Even so, he left the network, and it wasn't on good terms. So much so that he doesn't even follow anyone from his old job on social media. According to Leo Diaz, the main person behind his firing from A Fazenda was Rodrigo Carella. That's right. Back when he was at Record. And while he was there, his behavior was completely different. Not like today. Now that he's at Globo, I mean, what kind of personality do these people even have? He left a place where he was admired by so many people. He wasn't the kind of host we see today, desperate to make a statement at any cost. You didn't see that in Marcos Mion until he went to Globo. Not even Xanax, who calls President Bolsonaro the greatest political leader in this country. And I can say it clearly, the greatest political leader this country has ever had, even compared to the past. However, Globo then went through a tough time. They were at risk by the smallest of margins. Of going bankrupt, my friends, remember, under President Bolsonaro, Globo was selling off assets, letting go of key people, trying everything to cut costs so they wouldn't lose so much revenue. What we saw most at Globo during Bolsonaro's time was massive losses, year after year. Globo ran at a loss almost every year under President Bolsonaro. Then this puppet came in, as everyone saw, bringing censorship and all kinds of atrocities. Now they're showing astronomical profits. And I'm saying it's not even from sponsors, it's not advertisers, it's just pure profit. You all know very well, because never before have these nefarious and perverse people been paid as much as they are now. Why does Lula know this? Because his survival and the survival of this whole misgovernment depends on Globo. Without Globo, they've got absolutely nothing. And it doesn't come cheap. Miriam Leitão, who even got into the Brazilian Academy of Letters, Andrea Sadi, Natuza Neri, William Bonner, Renata Vasconcelos, Maju Coutinho, just a whole lineup of wicked people at that station. But one of them already turned sour for them, Marcos Mion, right? He's in a really tough spot. Not even Globo could handle him. Now, as for Sistema Brasileiro de Televisão, congratulations to them. They're going to have a huge amount of work if Brazil makes it to the World Cup and if Brazil isn't sanctioned by then. Because we can already see that Sistema Brasileiro de Televisão is going to have a massive job ahead, and they will. Interesting, we'll be following it all here. Galvão Bueno. He basically takes the entire audience wherever he goes. Those soccer broadcasts are going to be really fun to watch, right? Congratulations to Patrícia Abravanel, congratulations to Sistema Brasileiro de Televisão. Globo did not expect to take such a hit this quickly, that's a fact. Share this video on WhatsApp, Telegram, and Facebook. Like it and help us grow here. Join our Pais e Filhos Fabian Guiguet channel family.